We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. For many, it's a playground. For others, it's where we earn our living. But the sea's unpredictable. It can change in an instant. And when accidents happen, they happen very fast.
On the sea, you have to expect the unexpected. It will just turn around and bite you.
Mayday! Mayday! Help!
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of nearly 5,000 ordinary people.
When the pager goes off, we don't know what the shout is, where it is, how many people are involved. It could be anything.
Well, where do you feel the pain, Alex?
My back and my leg and my neck.
Stuart, just hold the boat!
I am so thankful that they came.
Things could have turned out to be a lot worse.
I've had people drown in front of me. Before we've got there, that person's gone.
Calm down, you're okay, pal.
Equipped with their own cameras,
My light flashing. Yeah, mine.
the crews give us a unique insight into every call-out as only they see it. Speeding through the roughest weather, searching for people who may only have moments to live. For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
The decisions we make on a lifeboat, it can all mean the difference between life or death.
This is BBC Radio 4, where it's time for the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1725 on Sunday the 15th.
October. In Rosslare on the southeast coast of Ireland, all is calm. But out in the Atlantic, a storm is brewing.
The general synopsis at 1800. Hurricane Ophelia, southwest Fitzroy, expected Malin 973 by 1.
Hurricane Ophelia has already battered the coast of America. Now it's heading east. Next stop, Ireland.
There are flood warnings along the west coast of the UK and Ireland. The Irish leader urges people to stay indoors.
This is a national red alert. It applies to all cities, all counties and all areas.
There's an old saying among sailors that a storm long forecast lasts long, and this storm was well forecast.
Even at this point, you can really feel the sheer power of Ophelia, but it gives you a sense why the authorities have been so concerned about these winds. They are going to cause a lot of damage and indeed destruction.
With Ophelia due to hit at any moment, Ireland is battening down the hatches.
The whole country was preparing itself for it. Ships had cancelled, trains cancelled, buses cancelled.
All the businesses in Ireland closed that day.
Nothing was moving, nothing was happening. Just a complete shutdown.
The wind that morning was something scary about the wind that morning. It just blew so hard and so noisy.
A shout on that day was very unlikely. It was the last thing on my mind.
I was at home that morning, just getting a cup of tea, and the page went off, and my wife was at the table with me, and she said, "Oh, geez, the page has gone off." I said, "It's probably nothing."
But the call is a mayday, the most serious of distress signals at sea. It means lives are in imminent danger.
And I just couldn't believe it. I said, "A mayday for what?" And I said, "A yacht with 3 people."
With such advance notice, it's surprising that anybody was out. But some people get caught out.
So I just turned around and headed for the station.
These are the nights that you dread. These are the calls you dread. These are the ones that you fear for, you know what I mean? You're putting life in danger. There's no question about it. Everybody's life's in danger in that boat.
Despite the horrendous conditions, 17 volunteers rushed to the lifeboat station. Operations manager David has to select 7 of them to crew the boat.
Everything going down to the station, everything's blown around the place, and trees were down and lines were down, and I was asking 7 people to get into a lifeboat to go to sea in that. But Mayday means they're in immediate danger, and it was only a matter of time for they wasn't going to come back. We had to just get out there and get to them as quick as we could.
The crew launched their 7-class lifeboat. Responsibility for their safety lies with coxswain Eamon.
To say I wouldn't be concerned going out there would be a lie. The main thing, as always with me, is get there and get back safely and with everyone on board.
The 10-metre yacht is approximately 12 miles up the coast from Rosslare. It's out of control and being blown towards danger.
This yacht was in a patch of sea which, the further north you went, was narrowing, and whether you met the land to the west or whether you met the sandbanks to the east, you were going to be in serious trouble before very long.
To make matters worse, conditions are rapidly deteriorating.
It was the windiest day I have ever been at sea. And the thing I noticed was the wind speed never dropped. It kept going up.
We know this area quite well, but to see it on that day, it was just like somewhere that we'd never been before. It was just violent.
Back at base in Rosslare, David is fielding calls from concerned family members of the crew at sea.
Pressure all around, to be honest with you, I mean. You're in the watchtower, you made the decision to launch, you have family ringing, how are the lads going, how's the lifeboat going, are you in contact with the lifeboat? And I was getting text messages from people that morning in the village, saying prayers, like, you know. We had one woman rang and said she sent a rosary in the house, you know. Was nice thought, absolutely nice thought, but it just go to show that people around the whole area were unbelievable that morning.
35 minutes after launching, the crew spot the yacht in the distance.
First glimpse of the yacht was a boat that was out of control. It was being dominated by the sea and the wind.
The yacht's engine has cut out, and in the extreme winds, it can't sail out of danger. Unable to make it to the nearest harbour, the 3-man crew are at the mercy of Ophelia and the sea.
We were hitting 70, 80 knots of wind, 8-9 metre seas, and it was just epic. It was biblical. It was like standing in a wind tunnel, being hit by a pressure washer in the face. It's just phenomenal.
The size of this little yacht out here in this weather was just bizarre. We circled them a couple of times and we could see that they'd taken an awful battering and swamping.
If I had been in that yacht, I would have been very worried.
They needed help. They needed help badly.
As the yacht is blown towards the sandbanks, the lifeboat crew are running out of time to come up with a rescue plan.
Taking them off wasn't going to be an option. There's just no way 2 boats could go side by side in that weather. The weight of the lifeboat, 40-something tons coming down on a yacht, doesn't bear thinking about the damage that it would do.
The only other option is to try to tow the boat to safety. But first they have to somehow get control of the runaway yacht. The crew prepare to deploy a device called a drogue.
A drogue is like a parachute that you will tow behind your boat, so it will give you directional stability and it will slow you down a little bit.
But with 80-mile-an-hour winds and an 8-metre swell, the crew's first challenge is getting the drogue over to the yacht.
1 minute we were 20 metres from, the next minute we were 5 metres from, so, you know, I had to keep my distance for the safety of boat crew.
Keeping pace just a few meters away, the crew managed to throw a line to the yacht. Once attached, the drogue can be deployed.
Having successfully passed the drogue, it was just unbelievable, the difference that it stabilised the ship, and it made it a lot easier to get that much closer to him to establish a tow line, which was our next plan.
The wind was blowing all the time, and as soon as I threw the heaving line, the wind caught it and just blew it like a piece of paper away from the casualty. We had to haul that back in, and had to reposition the boat. And I think on the second time we got it over to him.
Now they've established a tow, the crew must steer clear of the sandbanks ahead of them. That means turning back towards Rosslare and heading straight into the storm.
Turning the boat was going to be the worst worry. Turning it into that swell and going broadside on. We couldn't pick our moment. We just had to go for it because the waves were just so constant. The swell was constant. The wind was building. The yacht was on the end of the rope, and we just hoped for the best that it would come around. Thank God we just went for it, and it came round.
But the yacht and its crew aren't out of danger yet. Their safety now relies on the tow holding up against the force of the waves and the increasing strength of the wind.
We're depending on a rope attached between two boats, and for the fittings on the boat not to part in those conditions, because the loads, they would have been enormous.
We lost sight of it quite a few times, and next thing it just come out through the middle of the wave. Like, it wasn't going out over the wave, it was coming through the middle of the waves that day. The seas were that fierce.
The ride back was the most uncomfortable, extreme weather I've ever been in. We were just being hit in the face with walls of water. The boat was creaking and moaning. It was blowing 100 knots on the nose, and it was just the most unpleasant place I've ever been.
We just, inch by inch, got closer to Rosslare.
A series of unexpected setbacks had placed experienced skipper Mark and the yacht's crew in Ophelia's path.
We were delivering a 34-foot yacht, pretty normal delivery from the south coast round to a small marina just north of Dublin. We knew we had a severe weather forecast chasing us, but at this point we were 24 hours ahead of that.
I woke up 5 a.m. in the morning to do my shift, and I noticed the sea had changed. It had become very calm and flat, and it was a bit weird. You could feel something was different. I've never experienced that, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I guess it was the calm before the storm.
My barometer started screaming anti-cyclone, and that was the point at which I realised that the weather window that we had was no longer available.
You could look out towards the sky, and there were waves the size of, houses creeping up behind us. As you go down into the trough of a wave, the next wave seems to sneak up on you, like an office block's about to collapse on you. By this point, it had become obvious that we didn't really have full control on our direction.
Wetter under here than it is there.
I said to the guys calmly, we're not in a great position right now. We're not going to be able to get to where I need to go. I'm going to make a call for the lifeboat, and they're going to come and get us, and they're going to take us in. Don't panic about it, it's perfectly normal.
The skipper came down, I offered to make him a cup of tea, and he gave me a look like I was a lunatic, and informed me that he was going to let the Coast Guard know that we were in a spot of bother. It still didn't quite register that how much bother we were in with me. But he sat down, he picked up the radio, and he made aid. At that point, the seriousness of the situation hit me.
I would say we probably had about 2 miles or about 15, 20 minutes of drift before we were going to turn into a washing machine on the beach. I said, if this goes wrong, we're going to sit downstairs, we're going to bunch ourselves into a cabin, and we're going to hold in. That's our only choice. And then the lifeboat turned up after 15, 20 minutes. And it was just the greatest sight I'd ever seen.
After 3.5 hours of battling through Ireland's biggest storm in 50 years, the 2 boats finally make it back to Rosslare harbour.
Would like someone to just pull the plug, really. It was unbelievable, the relief, like to see him come around the corner with the yacht and all. It was absolutely, it's a feeling that I don't think you'll get out of no other.
This is something I haven't told the crew, but if you look at the timing and the speed we were travelling at and the direction we were being forced in, if the lifeboats hadn't got there, there's no chance we'd have survived that. That is a real 3 lives saved. That's not a question. That's definite.
There's always a great sense of satisfaction on completing a mission.
It's what we train for every day of the week, and to be successful on such a day, words cannot describe it.
I've never seen such a sigh of relief in my 33 years. I was on my wife and kids that day, just open arms and tears, and it was definitely hit home that they were doing the worrying, not me. So.
Ophelia may have been a once-in-a-lifetime storm, but crews around the coast must always be prepared for whatever the weather throws at them.
The sea can be dangerously unpredictable.
There is no way you can be prepared for every eventuality at sea.
You can be the most experienced person in the world, and the sea can always find something to catch you out.
You just never know what it's going to throw at you.
It can be flat calm 1 minute and it can change in an instant.
All of a sudden you get a bank of fog rolling and you might not be able to see 30 foot in front of you.
It's like, what's the wind doing? What's the tide doing? It's just a test over and over again.
I've never had wind like this before.
The only thing that surprises me is I still get surprised when I go out and I'm faced with what we're faced with.
If you drop your guard, it will punish you.
So it's a case of weighing up the wind conditions, the sea conditions, and thinking about how we can best save people and keep ourselves safe at the same time.
The north coast of Cornwall is one of the most exposed parts of coastline around the British Isles. The residents of the village of St Agnes are accustomed to the unpredictable weather that rolls in from the Atlantic. Life here revolves around the beach.
St Agnes is an absolutely awesome place. It's probably the best place in the world, I would say.
It's the best playground ever. You know, you have a look at that out there. It's beautiful. It's a fit, healthy environment for children to grow up in. You know, I wouldn't want my children growing up anywhere else.
Throughout the busy summer months, the lifeboat crew at St Agnes worked together with a team of 6 lifeguards. You don't have to be miles out to sea here to need rescuing. Many people are pulled out of the water just a few meters from the beach.
You've got to keep an eye on people going in the water, make sure they stay safe. And if the need comes, you know, they've got to head into the water and have those skills to be able to rescue them.
Steve has been a lifeguard here for the past 9 years. He's just the latest member of his family to patrol these beaches.
My mum and dad were lifeguards. My brother was a lifeguard. I'm as lucky as any professional footballer. What I do in my spare time, what I love doing, I managed to turn into a career.
If Josie's in difficulty out there, what signal might she put up? Nearly, well done.
Steve also helps run St Agnes's Life-Saving Club, training aspiring young local lifeguards.
It's the youth club for our village. Everyone centres around the beach, so this is our community centre.
Most of St Agnes's lifeboat crew have come through the club's ranks. One of the current students is Steve's 11-year-old daughter, Brooke.
We learn about the situations that we could end up in if we don't, follow the rules that the lifeguard sets.
She loves it. Yeah, it's a great activity for her. She's a lifeguard in the making.
One evening in May, from the clubhouse that overlooks the beach, Brooke's life-saving instincts kick into gear.
I looked out the window. I could see these 2 heads in the water, and they started going even further and further out, so I knew that they must have been in the rip.
2 boys are being swept out to sea in a rip current, a powerful channel of water flowing out from the shore.
A rip current is basically water being pushed into the beach, rushing back out. And it's just like a river, basically.
Rip currents can be incredibly fast-flowing. They could outrun an Olympic swimmer. So once you're in one, there's absolutely 0 point trying to swim back against it. If you do find yourself in one, just swim at 90 degrees to it, so parallel to shore normally, because they're always going out to sea.
I knew that this wasn't it wasn't just 2 lads playing. This was somebody who needed help.
Steve immediately heads through the surf on a rescue board. At the lifeboat station, the crew prepare to launch their D-class inshore boat.
We can see that they're in the water, we can see they're in trouble. So the things that are going through our mind are, they're going to be cold. Obviously, there's a risk of drowning.
But between the crew and the boys stands a major obstacle.
Beth, are you going that side?
It's high tide and waves are breaking directly onto the slipway.
It was going to be a hairy launch. The surf at that time when I came down to the beach was a good 5 to 6 foot.
Get the launch wrong and it could be the crew who need rescuing.
Come on, pull it in. Hold on.
We do get knocked over, rolled around. It tends to not be a sandy bottom, it's like pebbles and things, so it can be quite horrible, to be honest.
We are punching through waves that can be the size of your house. It's all about timing, getting it right.
On this one, go run. 1, 2, 6, go. Come on. Wave off. I've got a whole load of wave up my nose on that wave.
Watching from where I was at the back of the surf, they hit that first wave hard and the boat came up almost vertical over the back of that wave.
With the lifeboat safely through the surf, it's just a few seconds before they reach the boys.
2924, Falmouth Coast Guard, over. So contact there. Falmouth Coast Guard, St Agnes Lifeboat. We've got 2 casualties on board, 2 teenage boys. Just getting life jackets on and we'll be back on the beach in a few minutes, over.
So we pulled these two boys into the boat, put life jackets on them, had a quick chat with them.
One of them was pretty cold and shaking. I think he was panicking a fair bit at that stage.
They seemed a bit shaken up. They kept apologising, to which we kept saying, you know, it doesn't matter, like, this is what we're here for.
But they're not home and dry yet. The next problem is getting back through the surf to shore.
Yeah, when we go in, we'll be going quite fast. As we hit the beach, obviously we'll stop, so you might fly forward, so make sure you're hanging on. I ain't got any seatbelts.
To avoid being rolled by the waves, Helm Gavin has to go flat out to match the speed of the incoming swell.
Landing.
20 minutes after they were spotted, the boys and the lifeboat are brought back to shore and safety.
You okay? That's right. A bit of excitement, isn't it?
They were pretty relieved, and after a quick thank you, I think they were quite happy to get back home.
After raising the alarm, 11-year-old Brooke watched the whole rescue unfold from the beach.
Afterwards, I felt quite proud of myself.
I don't think Brooke had realised for a little while that actually all of this happened because of her, because she knew that this wasn't just two people swimming. This was two people who were tired and struggling against the rip current.
She definitely has the hallmarks of a future lifesaver. To be able to spot when someone's in trouble, aged 11, I think she is absolutely fantastic.
Her observation skills, her awareness helped in saving these two lads. So she's brilliant.
Standing on the edge of the English Channel, the historic town of Dover is Britain's closest point to continental Europe and a tourist destination in its own right.
The coastline around Dover's absolutely amazing. Amazing views.
We've got the White Cliffs of Dover, fantastic landmark. And we've got rolling hills and countryside 10 minutes from the sea.
Dover is also one of Britain's biggest ports. And the shipping lanes that stretch out into the channel are the busiest in the world.
It's not a particularly big stretch of water. It's only 20 odd miles across, so it funnels a lot of traffic into a very, very small space. There's lots of very, very big ships. They can get very, very close sometimes, and that can be very daunting, not only for the people that are being rescued, but for us.
If you can imagine running across a 3-lane motorway in the middle of rush hour, that's about how dangerous it is.
It's a steep learning curve for Dover Lifeboat's latest recruit, Jay, the youngest member of the crew at just 19.
Everything you do is kind of like I want to prove to myself that I can do this. All the crew know that everyone they take to sea is competent in what they do, that everything you've learned, training you've done, will sort of pay off when you need to use it.
But a breezy summer's day throws a curveball to even the most experienced members of the Dover crew.
The pagers went off in the early afternoon to tell me that a barge at sea was having engine difficulty coming across the shipping lanes.
7 miles off the Dover coast, a 40-foot flat-bottomed houseboat has run into trouble.
You wouldn't want to be stuck out in the middle of the channel on a boat like that. You wouldn't want to be stuck out in the middle of a channel on a boat full stop.
Being hit by a big ship is obviously not going to go well for you.
10 minutes after the call, the crew launched their 7-class lifeboat into the rapidly deteriorating conditions.
The problem was the weather had turned very, very quickly. Force 5, force 6. Enough to make life tricky for a small barge in the middle of the English Channel.
Negotiating their way through the busy channel, the crew spot the barge in the distance.
Port side, yeah? Port side.
It was quite choppy seas when we arrived on the scene. The barge was bobbing up and down like a yo-yo in a little bathtub.
The wind was picking up, the tide was picking up, and it was just struggling to actually move forward in the water.
Floundering in the busy shipping lanes and with waves threatening to swamp her, the crew must come up with a plan fast to save the houseboat and the 4 people on board.
I asked whether you were okay to receive a tow line, and they said that they were unsure about how to secure it. They were quite scared about going up front, bearing in mind that the barge was dipping in and out of the waves.
So we decided it was best to put one of our crewmen over.
The coxswain said, right, who wants to jump over?
And Jay, being one of the new crew members of the lifeboat, he probably wanted to prove himself.
Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time to volunteer.
Crossing from one moving boat to another in these conditions is something that all lifeboat crew train for. But this is Jay's first attempt in a genuine rescue.
What you're looking for is to pick a spot and safely try and step across, okay? Don't go until James is happy. When James is happy, then you pick your time to go. Right. Don't feel rushed. If we have to come away and have another go in, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Transferring people between craft in any weather is one of the most dangerous operations we do.
Get ready.
You know, if the boat rocks over, if your legs, or leg or arm, anything's in the way, you know, you'll lose it quite quickly.
As you go over, Jay, the only place to hold on is with your right hand. That is pretty much my plan.
One slip, you end up in the water, you're then between 2 boats, and you're just going to be crushed between the 2 of them. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and they go wrong very quickly when they do go.
The 7 class, she's nearly weighing at 45 tonnes. She's a big old girl. And the barge is only probably 10 tonnes. And seas that were going up and down, side to side, can be very challenging.
Just waiting for a bit of a break.
With a break in the waves and the boats aligned, James gives Jay the all clear.
Ready.
You don't want to go until you know that your speeds are matched.
Wind approach.
You know, you're comfortable taking that step. You never want to jump, because if, you know, one ship takes a wave or moves slightly wrong, you've jumped to something that's no longer there.
You're welcome.
It was a great relief to see Jay over on the other boat, safe and well.
What's the best way out to the front of your ship? Steps on here this side, and then over the top and over the front rail. Okay.
Jay can't afford to rest on his laurels. In the middle of the channel, every second counts.
A constant stream of big tankers, cargo ships, they can't just stop on a sixpence. Most ships take about 2 miles to actually stop fully, and that may not always be possible. So that's probably most captains' fear.
Jay must secure a tow line so the lifeboat can pull the barge back to the safety of Dover.
Setting up a tow in some rough weather can definitely be a challenge. You're trying to do everything with one hand, because you've got one hand sort of holding on for the boat, trying to keep your balance. And then you're trying to do everything else with just sort of the one hand. It can get tricky.
We're going to use either line, or we're just going to lob them.
While the crew prepare the tow rope, Jay has to find the best place on the barge to secure the line.
I guess I'll throw it. You'll have to just shout, let me know when James gives me when.
Anything with a rope can be very dangerous at sea.
There's a huge amount of tension on that boat swinging around off the end of the tow rope. It poses great risk.
By towing line parting, it will ricochet back at the boat with incredible force. If you're stood anywhere near that, if it did part, it would, you know, take your leg off.
5 minutes after getting onto the boat, Jay manages to secure the tow.
Okay, fast!
You happy to make off, James?
The houseboat and its crew can now resume their journey back to Dover in a more sedate fashion.
Hello, mate.
Mate, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Cheers, bud. We're still floating.
Channel's a funny place. Because you hear about people swimming across it, don't you? So you think, well, it can't be that difficult if you swim across it. But then, when you get to the point on your little riverboat where you can't see dry land anymore, it's quite a moment.
Johnny's plan was to bring his houseboat, a vintage Dutch river barge, back to England from Calais. With an experienced skipper at the helm, Johnny had brought a couple of friends along for the ride.
The weather conditions when we set off were absolutely picturesque. At least 20 degrees. We were putting on sunblock. We had the hatch open on the roof. It was beautiful.
But out in the channel, conditions can change fast, and it doesn't take much to knock a flat-bottom barge off course.
It was pretty bumpy. It was pretty unpleasant. But, you know, nobody was worried at that point. It wasn't anything we didn't think we could cope with. But it just kept getting a little bit worse and a little bit worse.
It was like being on a roller coaster, and every time the bow of the boat came back down, it was like a car crash. Every sort of 20 to 30 seconds, it was soul-destroying.
Walls of water all around us, and we were pitching, and we were being thrown around quite violently. It was pretty scary.
I don't get seasick. I got seasick. Very, very seasick.
9 hours into the journey, the barge's engine, buckling under the strain, started to overheat.
I suddenly realised that the propeller was spending quite a lot of time out of the water rather than in the water, where we kind of could have done with it. Bop, 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 and then zzz, bop, 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 zzz. Obviously making us even slower and prolonging the agony.
Then dawned, certainly on myself, that this might not end well.
It was awful, because everything I own's on the boat. Everything my fiancée owns is on the boat. It's our entire life. It's our home. Plus, we've got 3 close friends on the boat as well, who are all there just because of this crazy adventure that we went on. And, you know, and what if one of them gets hurt, or, you know, it's my fault. It's all my fault. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
It was a hard decision to call out the Coast Guard. Had we lost the engine, could have been pushed sideways by the waves, potentially capsized. In the end, it was a good call.
Alpha, Devon, Lifeboat, channel 67 degrees.
And then 12 minutes later, this glorious orange lifeboat appeared. 12 minutes, it was all it took.
This is Devon, Lifeboat.
I gotta tell you, I have never been so pleased to see anyone in my entire life.
To finally see that orange blip on the horizon, it was beautiful.
They came alongside, and this lad just stepped across like he was just walking in my front door. Like I just invited him in to tell me about his encyclopedias he's selling.
He was so relaxed and calm. It calmed us down a bit.
2 hours after they started the tow, the barge limps into Dover.
Thank you so much.
There was a thought amongst our crew that perhaps we had landed ourselves with rather a large bill.
Might be a silly question, and we're very grateful to be alive. But what's the score with like charges and things?
Which would have been fair enough, and I would have paid it gratefully had that been the case.
And that just made me laugh, because obviously, being the RNLI, we don't charge for anything.
We're a charity, we don't charge.
Oh, wow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the look on their faces when I told them that was brilliant.
Rescue for free. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? You know, these people risk their lives. They're volunteers. It's insane. So, yeah, we made plans to meet them all in the pub later on to say thank you, because how often do you get to drink with real heroes, you know?
Jay absolutely risked his life. That was one hell of a jump.
Jay did prove himself that day. He did an outstanding job, and it makes me very proud that my crew members do a good job.
I wouldn't say I risked my life. There might be some people that would think I did there, but I sort of see it as part and parcel of that job.
Out at sea, every crew member must be prepared to face up to their biggest fears.
The sea has scared me on many occasions. You get anybody who goes out and say, oh yeah, I'm not scared of the sea, they're lying. It can be a very, very scary place.
You don't always get a sense of how powerful it is from the shore, but once you're actually out in it, you think, actually, we're just a tiny little speck here and extremely vulnerable.
I've had a wave break completely on the front of the boat. We've been underwater and going backwards. So, yeah, it has scared me.
It's good to be scared, like, you have to be scared. Like, having a bit of fear, you know, it gives you that respect and not to do silly things when you're out there.
I think the scariest thing is breaking down and having your fellow crew come out and save you. I think that's what we're all worried about.
At the mouth of the Tor and Torridge estuary in North Devon lies the quayside village of Appledore. Despite its postcard pretty charm, this part of the coast holds a host of dangers for any unsuspecting visitors.
We've got very jagged coastal line with cliffs everywhere, very prone to people getting cut off. The tidal flow, it's so unpredictable. We've had many a time when we've gone out and it's come in a lot quicker than what even we've thought. We've got some sinking sand in different places as well.
Obviously, it looks very, very benign, but yeah, it can catch you out quite quickly.
If you don't know your local area, then it really can be quite dangerous out there.
Late spring, a call comes in from the Coast Guard. It's to one of the coast's most treacherous and unpredictable hazards.
First information was there was a person stuck in quicksand. Quicksand can be, yeah, deadly.
But the quicksand isn't the only danger.
The tide was out but coming in, so it's very serious, and the problem is that the more water that comes up, the more difficult it is to get him out because the sound is obviously heavier.
The estuary here has fast-changing tides which rise very quickly. A range of nearly 8 meters at its maximum makes it one of the highest tides in Europe.
And so scary for them because obviously they can't get out or move, and that must be horrible, just knowing that that tide's coming in as well and you're not sure how you're going to get out or what's going to happen next.
The stricken man is stuck on a sandbank on the opposite side of the estuary. The crew head across at full speed in their inshore lifeboat.
Hey, where is it? I can just see his head right in line with
The tide runs here 4 to 5 knots. It's definitely time critical.
2 minutes after launching, the crew arrive at the beach. With the tide racing in, they need to work out the best way to get to the stranded man.
Is he the other side? Yeah. Can we get out here and get over the top, can we? We should be able to.
Sam and Simon abandon the boat to try and reach the man on foot.
Go, Sam.
But with the uncertain conditions underfoot, every step must be carefully weighed up.
If you feel it getting a bit soft, do you want me to carry this shovel?
You can't rush on a job like this. Once you get to where they are and you know that the sand's soft, you need to be really careful because otherwise you could end up being stuck yourself.
Just watch the long lines, Sam.
Quicksand is formed when water saturates an area of loose sand and the sand is agitated.
Another one there, Sam.
When the water trapped in the sand can't escape, it creates a liquefied soil that can no longer support a person's weight.
You can't see quicksand as such. I always tend to go on anything with shells or, stones, because you know that it's a bit safer.
As the stranded man comes into view, it becomes clear just how quickly the tide is coming in.
The tide was really racing. By the time we'd crossed in ankle-deep water and looked around, it was knee-deep.
Less than 6 minutes after launching, Sam and Simon reach the man.
How you doing? It's nice and solid through here, Sam. You all right, bud?
When we got there, he said he was stuck. Problem is, once the sand builds up and the pressure's around it, it's so much weight, to even try and get your foot out of.
Seems pretty solid just under, but I don't want to go walking on there. He was very quiet. Yeah, shocked, I would have thought. But I'm not sure whether he had watched something that he must stay still. Moving makes it worse, which it does. Won't be a minute. We're going to get you out. It's fine. The more you panic, I think, the worse it can get, because if you start moving around quite quickly, you can sink further.
Too risky to approach the man through the quicksand themselves, the crew come up with a simple plan to get him out using the shovel.
Do you want to try having a go at digging your foot out? Yeah. Dig nice big bits around the outside. That's it. And work your way in. That's it. Give it a nice... Now, try and get a bit closer. We don't want to become stuck, so it's a lot easier for him to get digging. That's it, keep it coming. That's it, bud. All right. If you lean on that, get your suit back.
Brett had been out for a walk on the beach when his stroll came to a sudden stop.
At the start of the walk, it was dry, it was flat, it wasn't sandy, it was almost like walking on tarmac.
All right, that's right. You come on this nice hard stuff, bud.
I thought I could see a route to Appledore, and it was a hot day and it looked so flat and as if you could walk across. I got stuck.
This is nice and firm for you, bud. All right, you're all right now.
I tried to pull my foot out and I realised that it wasn't going to happen. It felt like almost someone just grabbing hold of you and then grabbing tighter.
Gets a bit worrying when it's like that, doesn't it?
Can do, yeah. I've read or heard that the more you struggle, the worse it can turn out. I just thought, well, the best thing to do is phone 999.
See how quickly that's come in now. It's there. Yeah, I know. He did do the right thing and call it in, Within an hour, he'd have been totally submerged underwater.
He was really quiet, but I think he was probably more embarrassed than anything else.
I was embarrassed, yeah. I couldn't wait to get out of there.
Because it is embarrassing. I mean, a lot of people, when we pick them up or do anything, they're like, oh, no. But, well, hindsight, that's what we're there for, so.
40 minutes after raising the alarm, Brett is delivered safely back to shore.
He was just unfortunate. It can happen to anyone. I think he might have learnt a lot from it as well. I don't think he'll be back down that way.
3 months after Storm Ophelia battered Ireland, life in Rosslare is back to normal. But the extreme tides and unpredictable weather around this part of the Irish coast mean that the town's 24-strong lifeboat crew have to be on their toes 365 days a year.
New Year's Day, we were just tidying up after the night before, and then, surprisingly, the pager went around lunchtime.
I just didn't expect it. It's New Year's Day, just don't expect a shout. Everyone was a bit surprised, but then again, just, right, job needs to be done, let's get on and do it here.
Again, you drop everything, you switch into lifeboat mode, and off you go to do what you've got to do.
A man is in difficulty in the water off Curracloe Beach, 10 miles north of Rosslare.
The first information we received on arriving at the boathouse is there's a surfer surfing with his partner and he was being blown out to sea, and They were kind of losing sight of him. We had an initial position, and certainly when someone is in the water, you don't have time to wait around.
The station's 7-class lifeboat is launched within 7 minutes.
People in the water don't have time. The faster you get to them, the more chance you have of bringing them home.
In January, with a sea temperature of around 10 degrees, anyone in the water for any length of time without the right gear is in grave danger.
Hypothermia can take its toll very quickly when you're dealing with the water, because the water will sap away the body's heat very fast.
The casualty has been caught up in a rip current, made worse by a strong offshore breeze. It's threatening to drag him right out into the busy shipping lanes of the Irish Sea.
It was a westerly wind and probably force 5 or 6, and it was just sending him out further and further to sea at the time. So we had to move quickly.
But finding a lone surfer in the open sea is a huge challenge.
At times, trying to find a boat is hard enough, or a life raft. But when you just have someone in a dark wetsuit, it's always going to be difficult to spot.
The surfer's partner, Caroline, who raised the alarm, is still on the beach.
I felt completely helpless because we were just watching somebody that you care about float further away from me, and I was definitely starting to panic at that stage where I was struggling to keep an eye and see where he actually was.
The Coast Guard helicopter has been scrambled to assist the search.
I was looking at him then going, I hope he understands that I'm taking action and I'm making calls to figure this out, because you could see very clearly that he was physically paddling but not moving.
The worst case scenario is finding him too late. That's in the back of our mind, so you can imagine what's in the back of his, you know, so.
20 minutes after setting off, the crew hear over the radio that the helicopter has spotted something in the water.
The helicopter hovered above his position, and when we got within a couple of 100 metres of the casualty, we had a visual of him.
When we set eyes on him first, it was just this black head in the water. It's just like a football. As we got closer, the board was more visible than the person.
The surfer had been in the water for 90 minutes. The crew must get him on board quickly to assess his condition.
We have an A-frame on the side of the boat for lifting people out of the water. So we placed a harness under his arms and lifted him onto the deck. And he was visibly shaken. He was shivering.
Definitely hypothermia was taking a hold of him.
So we got his wetsuit off, we dried him off, and then we had the heating on in the wheelhouse as well, and we had a couple of blankets, so we were able to warm him back up a little bit and get a smile back on his face.
There was a decent wave. It was probably a little choppier than maybe some of the other times I've seen it. And there was a strong wind. But yeah, picked our spot and went in.
Michael and Caroline had an early night on New Year's Eve so they could start the year with their newfound passion for surfing.
We'd been in the water for about an hour and we were both probably getting tired. And I said to Caroline, I feel we're a strong pull here. I feel we're in a rip. Maybe we need to move out of this.
But while Caroline caught a wave back to the beach, the rip current, combined with the offshore breeze, dragged Michael out to sea.
I just got out of the water and looked back at him. Then I could kind of see that while he was paddling, he wasn't moving anywhere.
It was a case of, I hope the hell they know that I'm in trouble here and that I need help. The cold starts in your toes and your fingers. You're trying to paddle a little bit so that you know that you're keeping your fingers moving, but then they're starting to get, bitterly cold, and that was becoming frightening. It was after that I heard the chopper coming over the horizon, and it took me, I could hear it before I could see it. And I was like, I'm not worried about this thing now. There's somebody on the way to help and they'll get me one way or the other.
"20 minutes after being plucked out of the water, Michael is delivered safely back to shore.
Complete relief, like, you know, that, wow, things could have very easily gone quite differently. And yeah, it's good to see his face.
My mum walked into the station and I was drinking a cup of tea, and she was like, all the RNLI guys were standing there and everybody was making sure I was okay. And my mum was like, I told you to take up golf. So that was her response.
If he hadn't been reported, I mean, the wind that day was blowing him offshore at a fair speed, and then the tide would have even, at the time the tide would have brought him north, and his outlook could have been very different.
Every time you bring someone home safe and well, you have a great sense of achievement. It puts a smile on your face for weeks on end. It makes the job worthwhile. That was what the job is about. The job is about bringing people home safe.
On a London canal, Johnny and Chaz are having their first reunion on the old houseboat.
Permission to come aboard, sir?
Of course. Hey,
Salty sea dog. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you too, man.
They're already planning their next adventure.
We're going to do it again, because we know what we're doing now. We know what to watch out for. We know to go in a faster boat that doesn't have a flat bottom. There's rule one there, kids. Do that. But yeah, it's going to be, you know, it's not put us off.
A few weeks after his lucky escape from Storm Ophelia, Tim is back home with his wife, Amelia.
My brother fixed the boat. It was just mechanical. We got it to its final destination eventually, with the aid of the same skipper.
The couple have since discovered they're expecting their first baby.
We have a little girl on the way, and once again, I feel the calm before the storm at the moment. It won't be called Ophelia.
You don't know Lilo? Is this person under the water? Have they drowned?
Okay, well done, you're in the boat. Okay.
Nobody strapped to a spinal board is going to want to see people panicking.
Try and keep your eyes open, try and keep awake, okay?
All I can remember is both of us just screaming help, and then it went silent and I didn't know where she was.